call the June 9th, 2014 meeting of the Chemung County Legislature to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Patrick?
Here.
Mr. Manchester?
Here.
Mr. Sweet?
Here.
Mr. Brennan?
Here.
Mr. Grabart?
Here.
Mr. Hyland?
Here.
Dr. Milliken?
Here.
Mrs. Woodard?
Here.
Mr. Hitchcock?
Here.
Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mrs. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Malazzo?
Here.
Mr. Mado?
Here.
Mr. Strange?
Here.
Mrs. Draxler?
Here. Motion to accept the minutes by Mr. Malazzo, seconded by Mr. Hyland. Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion to accept the communications 6-01 to 6-23 by Mr. Malazzo, seconded by Mr. Strange. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. This is the point when we come to public comments. You have 5 minutes in which to speak. If you are representing somebody else other than yourself, would you please state that and also state your name and address for us. We're going to start with the upstairs, and the people are down here right now, so come right on up.
Hello, my name is Claire Bonnie Chalet. I'm a resident of Chemung County, one of Mr. Robart's district. I've had some interesting experiences in life. One was to attend the committee meeting of the legislature. I listened to about 45 resolutions. Many may have been mandates, as I've been told, but probably not all of them. I was surprised to hear only 6 questions during those 45 minutes. Then I went to the county clerk's office to read a number of comments submitted earlier regarding the tonnage expansion. Of the many comments, only one was in favor of expansion. A number of them were form letters from the Sierra Club, which indicates the real concern about drill waste. But a large number were from local individuals with thoughtful, well-referenced objections to increasing the tonnage of our dump due to the questions about what exactly is in those drill cuttings that we are accepting from Pennsylvania. I am wondering, how many of you have read those letters? Or is this left up entirely to the staff? As our elected leaders, I would expect you to read that information and ask questions about this issue, so that you might come to an educated opinion, keeping in mind your charge to protect the citizens of this county. You also might ask, what do you, as our elected leaders, want our county to be known for? Its prisons, the county with all the brownfields, Elmira, the county that ranks as one of the lowest in health, and the one with the highest rate of lung cancer in the state. Or, as our elected leaders, do you want our county to be known as forward-thinking in protecting the residents' health, air, and water? The county of, another thing you might think of is this county of incredible beauty, the county of memorable people, the county that leads in renewable energy research, design, and production, and the county with a river to be proud of, having no radioactive remnants polluting it. You are in a position of deciding how our future development of Chemung County goes. I hope you will ask yourselves these questions, as many of us have. Thank you for listening.
My name is Jerry Wall. I live in Erin, New York at 65 Kellogg Road, WALL. Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you tonight. I would like to ask each of you, as legislators who represent this community, to consider a few questions. Even if you dismiss the health and environmental risks from the dangers of radioactive and toxic waste products from shale gas drilling, and I don't see how you can, why would you want to expose our community to all the problems associated with heavy truck traffic on our local roads? Imagine the effect on our health of hundreds, no, thousands of truck trips. Each truck polluting our air with diesel exhaust that contains benzene, a cancer-causing chemical. Each heavy truck and its heavy load will help wear out our roads and bridges before their time, necessitating costly repairs to our transportation infrastructure more often, a burden that taxpayers will bear. And why would you significantly reduce the useful life of our landfill facility? You've already voted once to increase outside tonnage, thereby reducing the life expectancy of the facility to meet local needs. Without the additional importing of trash, our facility could handle our local needs for decades. One reason you might make these choices is profit. Profits mostly for Casella, with minor profits for the county. The other reason might be nearsightedness about our futures. Short-term money versus the long-term health and safety of our community, its natural resources, the next generations. It's not a smart trade-off. I'm asking you to rethink the results of acting to increase or even to allow shale gas drill cuttings and shale gas-related waste in our county landfill. People are in the balance. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Legislature. My name is Jim Drake. I live on Ladbrook Road in Forsyth. What I come here for might be a little bit awkward to start with, but as you well know, you have a new town watershed, dams and Upton Creek, plus you have the Lawrenceville dams, okay? What you don't know, does everybody know what a watershed is? Well, it's a big area above, say, Elmira. We put Elmira right here at the bottom of this funnel. All this area out here is your watershed. All the water that comes in here ends up here. Okay, with the Pennsylvania dams at Lawrenceville and that area, plus the Newtown watershed area, you only cover 1/4 of that. You guys are living in an area where it's still floodable, okay? Very much so. You still got 3/4 of your watershed open for flooding. If you don't believe me, ask our coordinator. Okay, that's all. What is good there? But what I'm really here for is to say, have you ever been over to your Human Services building in the south side? You do not have any parking there yet. You have your Cooperative Extension office downstairs. You have your DMV's office downstairs. In 1972, the worst thing we had here in Chemung County, you couldn't get a license. You know, you're still susceptible. Both of them things are below grade. They sit in the cellar. Now I'm asking you if you could think about, I don't care, just think about moving a satellite office to the fairgrounds on the DMV. I mean, in the flood, after the flood, there was an office there, so I don't know if the wires and hookup are still there or not. But you don't have to move the whole office, split it up so it can be economic for the whole county. Okay, because people are hurting for money, and it's short for the northern part of that county to go there, and the southern part of the county to go there. Okay, simple as that. It's just common sense. Number two is we have a real high area of unemployment. People are hungry. There's a big need for food. Your cooperative extension sits idle. It's way put in the back. That's why I was hoping I could get them pamphlets out to you. That's Chemung County. Now I could have gone to Tompkins, but you would have said, well, that's Cornell. Well, that's okay. So I went to a neighboring county that's got about 90,000 people like Chemung County, only it's bigger in size, double or so. They promote their cooperative extension. I would like you to move your cooperative extension office to the fairgrounds. Put it up there so the people know what it is and what they do. They have no idea where it is, and it's stuck way in the back. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is is Ellen Weininger, and I'm from White Plains in Westchester County. I'm the Educational Outreach Director for Grassroots Environmental Education, a science-based environmental health nonprofit, providing environmental health information to schools and local and state governments in the tri-state area nationwide. We work directly with a network of leading medical experts and scientists in the field of environmental health. Grassroots environmental education is strongly encouraging this county legislature to introduce legislation to prohibit the disposal of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts at wastewater treatment facilities and landfills, and the application of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts on roads and property within Chemung County. I'm here to present evidence-based information for consideration regarding the negative impact of the decision to allow the disposal of oil and gas drilling waste here in Chemung, and what it will mean for our children and grandchildren in the years to come. We've already learned hard and expensive lessons with asbestos, lead, and tobacco, witnessing the epidemic of harm in each case. We knew the dangers, and yet the arguments went on and on and on. And we are here now, facing a new urgent threat, the exposure to radioactive contaminants in oil and gas drilling waste byproducts. Last month, the state of Connecticut enacted a 3-year moratorium on the storage and disposal of oil and gas drilling waste. 1 week later, the New Jersey Senate passed legislation prohibiting disposal of oil and gas drilling waste byproducts, and the New Jersey Assembly is gearing up to take action. Vermont has a ban. Massachusetts is poised to enact similar legislation. 12 New York counties have passed bans, local laws to prohibit all oil and gas drilling waste within their counties. Many of those counties passed legislation unanimously. Recognition by legislators, as one chair of a county legislature stated, this is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue, but an urgent public health issue. In fact, in Westchester County, where I live, legislators unanimously passed such a local law. And Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino, a gubernatorial candidate who supports fracking in the southern tier, signed the bill, recognizing the potential threat to public health, the county infrastructure, and its economy. It is well known that produced water and the semi-solids in fracking waste have high levels of chlorides and bromides and contain toxic heavy metals. They also contain high levels of radium-226 and radium-228, known carcinogens, with a half-life of 1,600 years, and are linked to anemia, cataracts, bone, liver, and breast cancers. Radon is a decay product of radium and is considered the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Lead and polonium are decay products of radon and damage lung tissue when radon is absorbed into the lungs. Potential of toxic exposure is of particular concern with children, a uniquely vulnerable population. The Mount Sinai School of Medicine's Children's Environmental Health Center is particularly concerned. Children have immature organ systems. They are ill-equipped to eliminate toxins. Their small size causes them to take in more contaminants pound for pound than adults do. And at a cost of $4 billion a year in New York State alone for environmentally mediated disease for children, just children, not even adults, this is a hefty price to pay for taxpayers. Scientific studies describe the inability of casual readings of radioactivity of oil and gas drilling waste for its proper assessment right at the landfill. Radium-226 and radium-228 emit alpha and beta, but the gamma emitters cannot be measured right in the field. According to the Department of Energy, a minimum of 21 days waiting period is required, and gamma spectrometry must be conducted in the lab to assess the gamma emitters in hydrofracking waste samples. According to peer-reviewed study, the EPA method for analyzing radioactivity in drinking water is unsuitable for testing solutions with high radioactive concentrations that are characteristic in hydrofracking waste byproducts, vastly underestimating the amount of radioactivity. Ivan White, a staff scientist for the Congressionally Commissioned National Council on Radiation Protection, expresses serious concern regarding the cavalier attitude toward human exposure to radioactive material which pervades the New York State DEC's draft SGICE, and states, the type of radioactive material found in the Marcellus shale formation and brought to the surface by hydrofracking is the type that has a long half-life and could easily bioaccumulate over time, delivering a dangerous radiation dose to potentially millions of people long after the drilling is over. The hydrofracking waste accepted here in Chemung County qualifies as T-norm. Many of you may know that norm is naturally occurring radioactive materials, which are distributed through geological formations and exist undisturbed in nature below the Earth's surface or right at the Earth's surface. But when norm are disturbed and transported by human activity to human environments, they are considered technologically enhanced naturally occurring radioactive materials, increasing potential of exposure that may result in concentration levels above background levels. T-norm from oil and gas drilling operations are not addressed by regulatory guidance documents. There's very little information available concerning the synergistic reactions and the cumulative effects of radionuclides that combine simultaneously over and over and over again, and the potential human and animal health impacts. The EPA, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, do not have established federal regulations that directly govern T-norm waste from the oil and gas industry.
Can you wrap it up? You've had 8 minutes.
Yes, I'll be happy to do so. Thank you. Landfill disposal of radioactive sludge from oil and gas drilling operations could contaminate them for thousands of years. All landfill membranes fail eventually, and leaching or flooding could result in contamination of nearby ponds, streams, or groundwater. Leachate from landfills is a frequent cause of groundwater contamination. Pathways of exposure are numerous, and agricultural areas are especially vulnerable and present potential for irreparable damage and serious financial harm. We already know that West Virginia landfills and Pennsylvania landfills have radioactive alarms being triggered continuously with very high levels being seen, typical, again, of the Marcellus shale. So we close by saying that we strongly urge this county legislature to expedite the introduction of local law to prohibit all hydrofracking waste byproducts within Chemung County. Thank you.
I'd like to remind you that it's 5 minutes that you have to speak, please. Anybody else in the front row?
Hello. My name is Chelsea Raymond. I live here in Chemung County in Elmira. I'm here tonight to read a statement from a group called Riverkeeper. In support of to the Chemung County Legislature, in support of introducing a local law prohibiting road spreading of oil and natural gas waste and acceptance of such waste at landfills and wastewater treatment plants. Riverkeeper strongly encourages the Chemung County Legislature to introduce a local law prohibiting the spread of oil and natural gas waste on roads and property within the county and the acceptance of any such waste at wastewater treatment plants and landfills within the county. Riverkeeper is a member-supported watchdog organization dedicated to defending the Hudson River and its tributaries and protecting the drinking water supply of 9 million New York City and Hudson Valley residents. Riverkeeper is actively involved in litigation, advocacy, and public education surrounding the issue of shale gas extraction and ancillary activities, particularly because of its potential impacts on New York State's drinking water supplies. Waste generated through the extraction of oil and natural gas using hydraulic fracturing or fracking can contain a number of pollutants such as chemicals, metals, and organic compounds that are harmful to human health and the environment, and excess salts that can corrode the infrastructure and harm aquatic life and vegetation. Fracking waste from extraction activities in the Marcellus shale can also contain naturally occurring radioactive materials, norms such as radium-226 and radium-228, which have been linked to serious health effects including cancer. Passing local legislation prohibiting the use of oil and natural gas waste on roads and its acceptance at landfills and wastewater treatment plants is critical because the sale, reuse, and disposal of this waste are currently occurring in a number of New York State counties, including Chemung. Such practices will continue regardless of whether high-volume fracking moves forward in New York, since waste is being produced by ongoing low-volume fracking operations in western Pennsylvania and is being imported in New York from high-volume wells in Pennsylvania. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation currently allows the use of production brine, a typical of wastewater, from low-volume fracking to be spread on roads for de-icing, dust control, and road stabilization. Brine from natural gas storage is also used for the same purpose. If not properly controlled, this waste can run off into adjoining property and ultimately contaminate rivers, streams, and underground aquifers that feed local drinking water supplies. In 2013 and 14, Riverkeeper obtained documents from the DEC indicating that road spreading of oil and natural gas production, brine, and brine from natural gas storage has been approved in portions of at least 40 municipalities in 9 western New York State counties: Wyoming, Erie, Cattaraugus, Chautauqua, Genesee, Niagara, Seneca, Allegheny, and Steuben. In addition, the New York State Department of Transportation, Regions 4 and 6 have received approval to spread this brine on state roads in portions of Chemung, Genesee, Orleans, Wyoming, Monroe, Livingston, Steuben, Allegheny, Schuyler, and Yates counties. In 2012, New York State Department of Transportation stored 7,433 gallons of brine in Horsehead's sub-headquarters facility in Chemung and applied the brine to roads maintained by New York State Department of Transportation throughout Chemung County. Riverkeeper also received testing results in response to our FOIL request, which showed excessive levels of chloride salts in both natural gas production, brine, and brine from natural gas storage facilities. In addition, sample results for brine from oil production and natural gas storage facilities revealed the presence of benzene and toluene. Benzene is a carcinogen that has been linked to blood disorders such as anemia, while toluene has been linked to nervous system, kidney, and liver problems. Also of concern, applicants are not required to test for naturally occurring radioactive materials. Moreover, fracking waste, including drill cuttings and liquid waste, is currently being transported from high-volume fracking operations in Pennsylvania to 5 New York counties, including Chemung County. Along with the contaminants commonly found in oil and natural gas fracking waste, the extraction process can concentrate norms in solid waste, leading to higher levels of radioactive contamination. Due to loopholes in state laws and federal laws, fracking waste is not classified as hazardous, even though it can contain a number of harmful contaminants that are in fact hazardous. Therefore, fracking waste is not subject to regulations governing the transport and disposal of hazardous waste and can be disposed of at municipal landfills and wastewater treatment plants, which are unequipped to handle such waste. Since 2011, more than 300,000 tons of fracking waste has been transported from Pennsylvania to New York landfills, including Chemung County's landfill in Wellman. Further, leachate from New York State landfills is often sent to nearby wastewater treatment facilities for processing. Wastewater treatment facilities in New York that receive the required state and federal authorizations are also permitted to directly accept fracking wastewater. Recognizing the environmental and public health risks, at least 12 other New York counties have passed measures banning the improper reuse and disposal of fracking waste. Riverkeeper supports these efforts and urges the Chemung County Legislature to introduce a similar ban as expeditiously as possible. To assist county governments in developing prohibitions on road spreading of oil and natural gas waste, along with acceptance of waste at landfills and wastewater treatment plants. Riverkeeper has developed model legislation attached for your consideration. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this important issue.
Sorry, I walked slowly. I hope it didn't chew into my 5 minutes.
I start when you start talking.
Ms. Draxler, Chemung County legislators, honorable citizens and friends of Chemung County. Having served as a county legislator from 1997 till the end of 2003 in Schuyler County, I'm aware of the challenges of being a county legislator in a small county. I'm aware of the problem of unfunded mandates in counties where the state legislature dumps the cost of their doing business onto the counties to pay. It's painful. When I served, we did not have an appointed county manager nor an elected county executive. We knew that we were the decision makers and the responsible parties for county policy. It was hard work. It was a full-time job at half-time pay. It was a huge learning experience, and it was a valuable lesson in humility. Looking back on that era and seeing what happens in this county, I see it was a lot more than what I see happening here. Quite honestly, I see you folks taking the back seat and allowing the county exec to make the policy and to give you the decisions after they are made. It's an easy problem to slip into when you have a very strong leader. I saw it beginning to happen in Schuyler soon after they voted to bring in a county manager. According to your county charter, you are the decision makers here. You are the responsible parties for policy here, according to your own charter. Your county exec can veto one of your decisions. However, after 45 days, when it comes back from the county clerk with the veto, you can override this veto with a 3/5 vote of this body. Have you ever done that? I certainly hope you have. I hope you've fought through issues and sweated over them. Have you ever asserted your rightful positions as the responsible policy makers and decision makers in this county? Have you ever done the work that helps you determine the right path, the path that protects your citizens' health and their well-being? And have you ever voted according to the strength of your own conscience? Chemung County is not a monarchy. It is a democratic republic with you as our elected leadership. In Westchester County, the legislature unanimously passed a strong local law that protects its citizens from any form of frack waste from coming into that county. Their county exec signed that bill into law. He voted with his legislature to protect the people of his county. Yet, he is willing to throw us in Chemung County under the bus. As the candidate for governor of this state, he has publicly declared that New York State, under his leadership, will allow slick water hydrofracking of the Marcellus for natural gas. He's made it a point to let everybody know he is in favor of it. Are Westchester County citizens more valuable than our citizens? Are you willing to be the target zone for a process that is already contaminating our water and air supply due to the dump with the frack waste already there, the supply companies with their carcinogenic chemicals and horse heads, the trains with their silica dust blowing in the wind in our parks? Each one of you is receiving a DVD this evening. Compliments of our friends in Westchester County. I put them on your desk. It is a 5-minute and 20-second long, and it has statements from county legislators from Westchester, from Putnam, and from Rockland counties as to why they will not allow any frack waste into their counties. We were not allowed to show it as a statement here this evening. I really don't know why. You are, by your own charter, responsible for enacting, amending, or rescinding local laws, ordinances, or resolutions that impact the health and welfare of your people. For God's sake, please do the right thing. You will sleep better nights, and Chemung County will be a far better place in which to live. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Potter, and my husband and I live in Big Flats. We moved to this area from Kansas in 2005 because we found it so attractive, the Chemung River being a big part of that. The natural beauty of the Chemung Valley and proximity to the Finger Lakes could draw many other retirees here, especially as New York doesn't tax pensions, retirement accounts, or Social Security, and home prices are reasonable. But we might have made a different decision if we knew then what we know now. In 2005, horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing of the Marcellus shale for natural gas didn't exist. There were no plans for gas storage under Seneca Lake. Drill cuttings were still several years away from being deposited in our county landfill. And it wasn't until Pennsylvania's gas fields began to make the news that we could foresee the changes that would take place in our communities and countryside once drilling started in New York. But the state, under Governor Patterson, wisely put a hold on the new drilling technology until it could be proven safe for people and for the environment. The moratorium remains in effect. While the health and environmental impacts of horizontal drilling and fracking are still under study by the state, and even as we observed multiple contamination incidents in the Pennsylvania gas fields, why are our landfills allowed to accept truckloads of Marcellus waste in the form of drill cuttings and related sludge? It makes no sense to me. What's the point of a moratorium if we become part and parcel of Pennsylvania's gas business? We are at risk of sacrificing our clean air and water to Casella profits. The Chemung River flows past, and our aquifer sits under what has already become a depository of alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. Liners will never last anywhere near as long as the half-lives of those radioactive shale materials. And this is just from the drilling stage of gas well production. For years, Casella accepted drill cuttings from Pennsylvania and didn't report this to the state. What makes you think they'll voluntarily begin reporting that they're accepting actual fracking waste that arrives from the same sources? I'm asking you, the legislators of Chemung County, to honor the moratorium and demand that Casella cease and desist from accepting Pennsylvania drill cuttings and remove those already there. Certainly do not expand this practice by voting to enlarge the capacity of the landfill. You have not only the residents of Chemung County to consider, but all those who live downstream of the landfill. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Susan Walter, former resident of Chemung County, now living in Tompkins. As you legislators well know, but maybe someone in the audience does not, after this proposal to expand the tonnage of our landfill was made, the public was invited to comment, either through the public hearing on January 30th or through writing letters after that before a certain deadline in March. As Bonnie has already indicated, those of us who have been coming to the legislative clerk's office to read those letters found the pile this thick. And I have personally been through 317 of them. I didn't quite finish because I ran out of time, and I've been down 4 times to do this, and I thought that was enough. I'd like you to know the content of these letters. The range of the type of letter go from a 2-sentence letter in longhand on a yellow tablet sheet to 5, 8, 11 pages of typewritten material with documentation about the radium-226, the heavy metals, and all the other problems that all of us have been talking about for several months. The vast majority of the letters, by far, are form letters from the Sierra Club, each one signed by a different person. And I can imagine it would be tempting to say, oh, that's the Sierra Club point of view, we know what that is, so discount or don't pay attention to those who signed that letter. Folks, when you sign your name to a letter written by an organization, it's because you agree with and you believe in the points they're making. They have more time and more eloquence and more knowledge sometimes to express those points. So I would hope that you're paying attention to every one of those letters, especially if they're from the Southern Tier and or from Chemung County. The reason I include the Southern Tier, and by that I'm talking about the letters that came from Allegheny, Steuben, Chemung, Schuyler, Tioga, and Broome County. Again, you could think, well, they're not my constituents except Chemung County. Therefore, I don't have to take time to read those letters or pay attention to their point of view. Folks, we're all in this together. As someone has already said, the air and water pollution don't stop at county lines. We all live downwind and downstream because overall it's one whole ecological system. But just for your information, of those 317 letters that I looked at, 98 are from those 6 counties of the Southern Tier that I just listed. I hope you have read them all. 57 of those are from residents of Chemung County. I hope you've read those. And they're hard to find amidst all the many form letters, but they're there. 316 of those 317 people do not favor your passing this proposal to expand the tonnage of the landfill. The one person that's already been referred to before who was sort of borderline, he says the town of Chemung does not contest any findings in the draft EIS. That's not even saying I favor your passing the proposal. It's a rather neutral statement that the town doesn't contest any findings, and that's as far as he probably could afford to go because, of course, the people in his town, most of them are totally against the existing landfill, let alone the expansion of it. But the other 316 clearly have concerns about health and safety. I just want to read you a few quotations. This is from someone named Sally. Allowing landfills to stockpile radioactive and toxic gas drilling waste above our shared freshwater aquifer without thoroughly evaluating the risk of health, environment, and future costs is irresponsible. I would say unconscionable. Here's one from Pine City. Our decision now, meaning if you favor passing this proposal, could have repercussions for hundreds of downstream communities that may one day hold us accountable for our decision to serve as a depository for radioactive waste for short-term financial gain that will cost our community in the long run. And here's one more. This is from a PhD. He was talking about radium-226. and the fact that it's highly soluble in water. The water coming up the wellbore contains high levels of this isotope, that's the radium-226, giving radioactivity that can be 1,000 times background level. Please, folks, before the staff, when the staff comes to you at your standing committee meeting and talks about what he or she thinks or they think about this subject, please do enough reading that you can ask intelligent, hard questions of those staff people about alpha radiation versus gamma and testing for heavy metals and all the things we've talked about for several months here. Do your homework, ask the questions, so that regardless of what the staff person suggests or the standing committee suggests that you do when you vote, that you will vote your conscience and think of the health and safety of future generations. Put health before wealth and vote against the proposal. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Krista Hayward, and I live in Pine City here in Chemung County, and you've heard me speak before, so I'll keep my comments brief. I just want to bring your attention to 2 points of interest. The first is that the Pennsylvania Attorney General last Friday happened to indict a fracking natural gas waste hauling company for the illegal deposition of fracking waste in counties in Pennsylvania. And I think that if that's happening in Pennsylvania, it's very likely that those similar things could happen here in New York. And we're dealing with the same haulers that Pennsylvania sees here with our landfill. And the second point that I wanted to make was that Governor Corbett in Pennsylvania is currently has a less than 25% approval rating, and he currently trails his Democratic candidate for the gubernatorial race by more than 20 points in the latest Quinnipiac poll. And so it's possible that Governor Corbett may not receive a second term, and it's possible that the policies regulating natural gas in Pennsylvania could change under the next gubernatorial office. And this could have dramatic effects on the natural gas industry. And so I would like to encourage you to think about how those changes might affect the economy here in New York. And I think it might be a bit of a risk to place a lot of economic potential on the receipt of natural gas fracking waste here in our county, when those types of waste may be differentially regulated under the next governor of Pennsylvania. Thank you.
I'm Doug Kushan, PhD, resident in Elmira and in Chemung County. I am against the expansion of tonnage capacity at the Chemung County dump. Also, I'm against accepting drill cuttings or any fracking waste products into Chemung County. The county is proposing to expand tonnage accepted at the dump in Lauman from 180,000 tons to 417,000 tons per year. That's a 131% increase. And if this proposal is passed, more Marcellus shale drill cuttings from Pennsylvania would be dumped here, along with more garbage from other locations in New York State, including downstate. We just had a rally. Most of you probably come in from the other direction, but out in front of the Hazlitt building before. It was at 6 o'clock. We had 65 to 70 people at that rally, none of whom want the tonnage increase or shale waste to come to Chemung County. Most of them were from Chemung County. We had a handful of people supporting us from 4 or 5 other counties as well. because radioactivity, toxicity knows no boundaries. If it comes here, it's likely to go other places. So residents of Chemung County have come out in protests of this expansion and to educate our legislators about why increasing capacity at the dump is a bad idea. Here are just a few of the reasons why expanding tonnage capacity is a bad idea. And hopefully this will connect some dots. First of all, increasing tonnage capacity is directly related to accepting drill cuttings from Pennsylvania frack fields, is directly related to fracking. Ergo, expanding the dump tonnage capacity is directly related to fracking. There is no getting around that point. Drill cuttings from Pennsylvania are proven to be radioactive. Radioactive material going into the dump does not necessarily stay in the dump. Some of it will certainly move through our environment by air and water, putting us all at risk. Radioactive salts in the Marcellus and other regional shale deposits are water soluble. Tests of leachate at our dump that are leachate produced in the dump, indicate that the fluid is becoming more radioactive over time. Leachate containing the radioactive salts is trucked from the dump to Elmira water treatment facilities. Connect these dots. From there, these soluble salts are released into the Chemung River, where they remain untreated for radioactivity. Thousands of people, both local and downstream, get their drinking water from the Chemung River. No amount of income generated for the county by the Casella Run dump is worth the decline in community and public health we're likely to see in the future. No amount of income generated for the county by the Casella Run dump is worth the environmental degradation we're likely to experience in that future. The people of Chemung County say no to the expansion of dump capacity and no to the transport of drill cuttings and any kind of fracking waste into the county. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Shaw, resident of Elmira, City of Elmira in Chemung County. When you drive into the City of Elmira from Route 8617, you're greeted by a large sign with the images of prominent Elmira residents from the past, such as Mark Twain, Hal Roach, and John Jones, for example, along with a slogan that reads, "Welcome to the City of Elmira, honoring the past and building the future." Too much about Elmira is focused on its past, which did enjoy a thriving economy and community at one point. The present is another story, with its prison economy, hollowed out downtown commercial areas, slumlords, and once glorious neighborhoods. A website that talks it up calls Elmira the Forgotten City, mentioning its attractions such as Arnott Art Museum, the National Soaring Museum, and the Newtown Battlefield. In particular, the Woodlawn Cemetery speaks to the quantity and quality of people who once inhabited this city. Visionaries, activists, abolitionists, such as Simeon Benjamin, John Arnott, John Jones, the Langdons, and Mark Twain. We need to seek inspiration and guidance from their example in order to build the future of Elmira and stay truly connected to its past. Expanding the tonnage capacity at the Chemung County landfill is not good for Elmira, Chemung County, now or in the future. I want you to vote against expanding the tonnage capacity there. Not only does it clear the way for adding more garbage from other New York State counties, it also clears the way for adding more fracking waste from Pennsylvania. While our own population is dwindling, we don't need to be increasing the amount of waste in our dump. We simply don't need to be bringing in waste from other areas. I also want you to immediately halt accepting into the dump more drill cuttings from Pennsylvania's fracking fields. These are cuttings that are radioactive. Do we really need to be dumping Pennsylvania's toxic waste in Chemung County? This is a threat to our health right now as well as the health of our future. It is particularly troublesome for our children. And don't we want to create an environment where our children can thrive, contribute to the community, and eventually have access to jobs, homes, and safe neighborhoods right here? Bringing toxic radioactive drill cuttings from fracking sites in Pennsylvania to the Chemung County dump does not help us build our city's future. Expanding the tonnage capacity to allow for more drill cuttings is a step in the wrong direction. We need to remove the existing drill cuttings, not increase the amount. We need to stop accepting drill cuttings, and we need to deny expansion of the dump's tonnage capacity. If Elmira really plans on building its future, we need to prohibit future disposal of frack waste of any kind in Chemung County. An article from Life Science this past fall reports on a study from Duke University about Marcellus shale drill cuttings being unusually radioactive, owing to a high concentration of radium-226, a decay product of uranium-238, which is known to occur in high concentrations in shale formations. It states that long-term exposure to large amounts of radium can cause adverse health effects and even disease like leukemia. Radium can make its way into the food chain by first accumulating in insects and small animals, and then moving on to larger animals like fish when they consume the insects and smaller animals. Another article from the journal Environmental Science and Technology states that researchers have found high levels of radioactivity, salts, and metals in the water and sediments downstream from a fracking wastewater plant in Black Lake Creek in western Pennsylvania. The Life Science article claims that similar contamination may be happening in other locations dealing with discharge of fracking wastewater throughout the Marcellus shale formation. This brings me to the issue of the leachate that is generated by the landfill, hauled to the Elmira water treatment plant, and ultimately discharged into the Chemung River, where many of us get our drinking water. There is no treatment facility in the county that can remove radioactivity from water. Let's really consider the future of Elmira, build on its strengths, and create a sustainable environment for our children. We have a college here, another place of historic importance, as well as a source for economic development in the area. But what parents would want to send their child to a place known as a dumping ground for fracking waste? What kinds of economic development through recreation could possibly happen in a river that receives radioactive toxins from minimally treated fracked wastewater? Will the businesses of Elmira benefit from a decision to expand our dump tonnage? And what patients, doctors, and other health practitioners would choose Elmira hospitals as a place for treatment or professional commitment? I urge you to protect us from real health threats and further economic hardship. I urge you to focus on life-generating economic plans for our community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Donna Homuth, and I live at 74 Thornapple Drive in Elmira. I'm here, and I thank you for letting us all speak. I'm here to express my opposition, 1, to the expansion of tonnage of our dump, and 2, to the acceptance of drill cuttings and waste from fracking fields. First, our population, as many people have already said, is dwindling. So our garbage and waste should decrease, not increase. According to the U.S. Census, our county in the year 2000 had just over 91,000 residents. Our projected population for 2020 is about 85,500, a substantial decrease. We're getting smaller. We don't need our tonnage to get bigger. Also, there is nothing attractive about increased tonnage at our dump. Our children will not want to return to live in Chemung County because we have increased tonnage. Nor will people seeking a fresh start in a small, safe, lovely community. However, People have been attracted to our county by our city of beautiful Victorian homes surrounded by green or snow-covered hills. In May, my husband and I took a tour of Victorian homes, many of them lovingly restored by people new to Chemung County. Now there's an attraction far weightier than increased tonnage. Let's build our population by providing incentives to refurbish our historic homes and to make our houses and buildings more energy efficient. This would also, of course, produce jobs.
Yes.
Charleston, South Carolina capitalized on its historic buildings, creating both a preservation industry and a tourist magnet. Should we incentivize such an industry here and thus increase our population, we would still not need to increase tonnage at the dump. Raised awareness of energy efficiency would yield less waste, not more. Second, we should not accept drill cuttings or waste from the fracking fields of Pennsylvania or anywhere else. This is about, as we've heard a lot, among other things, radiation. Now, I don't understand everything about the radioactive materials and the toxins related to fracking drill cuttings and waste. But it's my responsibility as a Chemung County citizen to learn more. And I have tonight, thanks to so many of our speakers. And it's your responsibility as our legislators to understand fully the short and long-term effects of these materials. Much of what gets deposited in our dump eventually finds its way into our air and water. I've heard that the radiation detection equipment currently in use has picked up no radioactivity from trucks entering our dump, implying that the trucks contain no radioactive materials. However, I've also heard that the equipment being used cannot detect alpha radiation, which is the most dangerous. We need to screen for all kinds of lethal or disease-producing materials, not just what's easy to measure. At this point, telling citizens of Chemung County that all the materials entering the dump are safe is like telling Little Red Riding Hood that the woods are safe because you've checked for tigers and found none, without telling her that you cannot check for wolves. Thank you.
I'm Paula Cartson from Spencer. I'm a substitute teacher in the Spencer Burnett School District where a lot of, I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm a substitute teacher in the Spencer Burnett School District where many Chemung County children go to school. There have been 2 ads, TV ads recurring lately that led me to do some research on the Chemung River. One ad wants people to enjoy the beautiful river this summer. I found out from the Friends of the Chemung River Watershed website that the river and its trails are used for boating, fishing, hiking, and biking. The wildlife includes at least 20 kinds of birds like bald eagles, hawks, egrets, migrating birds, and water birds. These opportunities to enjoy the river would disappear if it became polluted by the landfill, which is likely. The second recurring TV ad is from the Chemung County Stormwater Coalition, which warns that stormwater runoff collects a lot of potential pollutants. The county website says that stormwater runoff collects and transports potential pollutants. Polluted runoff degrades our lakes, rivers, wetlands, and other waterways. Toxic chemicals from automobiles and careless application of pesticides
Herbicides and fertilizers threaten the health of the receiving waterway and can kill fish and other aquatic life. It seems disingenuous of the county to be so forceful in its warnings about stormwater runoff, but fail to notify the public about the pollutants that are allowed in the landfill.
Thank you.
They warn against the benzene and gasoline in runoff, but don't mention the benzene that comes up with fracking and is probably being brought up from PA and dumped in Lauman. Do we even know what's in the landfill? Is it just drill cuttings, which are bad enough, or also soil contaminated by flowback after chemicals and sand have been injected into the ground? The almost 300 chemicals used in fracking, over 93% with bad health effects, according to scientist Theo Colborn. Who's watching? We should have baseline testing for all waterways in the Chemung watershed and beyond, and the test should include all chemicals known to be used for fracking. I read today that in Texas, there has been a proven link between a natural gas well and an aquifer, proven by the signature chemical composition of the gas. This is the future as laws catch up with fracking and careless, improperly licensed landfills like the Chemung landfill will be stopped. The leachate isn't being treated for what it contains. Please do the right thing and stop it now. I mentioned last month that you would be heroes if you would vote against the expansion. That's an overused word, but I still think that you would get cheers from most of the people in this audience if you did that. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mary Thorpe, and I live in the town of Manhattan in Chemung County. And I sent a copy of my letter earlier today to the clerk, which I hope she will send to all of the legislators here today. But I'm not going to read all the facts and figures, which I think you've heard many times, and start halfway through my letter. And I also added some comments which were not in the letter, which I thought about afterwards. I've encountered many supporters of the natural gas industry who are content to defer to our state leaders and the DEC in decisions concerning hydrofracking. Unfortunately, the DEC is understaffed, and our state legislators apparently are not very well informed, as evidenced by a vote taken in the Environmental Conservation Committee a week or so ago on Senator, I don't know how to pronounce her name now, Chatsik's bill to ban fracking waste in New York. The chair of the Environmental Conservation Committee, Mark Rosanti, was quoted as saying, "I'm not sure that this is actually taking place." Who should be more educated on the subject than the chair of the committee charged with oversight of environmental issues? But apparently he was clueless. And that got me thinking about words of Thomas Jefferson. I was trying to remember, so I Googled it and would like to quote Thomas Jefferson. "An enlightened citizenry is indispensable for the proper functioning of a republic. Self-government is not possible unless the citizens are educated sufficiently to enable them to exercise oversight." And further, "I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional power." And unfortunately, in going around my township, I've encountered a large portion of the citizenry that is either too busy or too apathetic, or worse yet, cynical about our governmental processes to get involved. They think, what does it matter what I do? It's not going to make a difference. But I believe that most of the people assembled here tonight have cared enough to take the time to educate ourselves and to pass what we've learned along to you, who've been elected to represent us. We hope that you will show us that our democratic process works. And I just pulled up a few examples on problems with fracking waste handling, none of which I've heard mentioned so far. I went to a meeting about leachate that's coming from the Seneca Meadows landfill that's being trucked to Endicott. At that meeting, the DEC representative was not aware that Seneca Meadows was taking fracking waste in Pennsylvania, even though DEP records that had been obtained showed that that was the destination. And that leachate is not being monitored for radioactivity. And even if it was tested, water testing data related to a wastewater treatment plant that accepts leachate have been linked to a Syracuse laboratory that pled guilty in July 2013 to one felony count of mail fraud in a case said to involve 3,300 falsified water tests. So we're to trust our bureaucracy. Recently, Marcellus shale sludge that was rejected in Washington County, Pennsylvania for high levels of radioactivity was sent on to West Virginia for disposal. Do you want Chemung County to be the dumping ground for Pennsylvania's rejected waste? I do not, and I implore you to vote against it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Lapierre from Pine Valley. I'm also chairman of the Stormwater Committee in the town of Veteran. I'd like to thank the county for having the Chemung Stormwater Committee that has helped. Also the Chemung Soil and Water, who has come out and done a lot of work. The only thing that I'm here to ask tonight is to come up with some funding so that there's more help as far as for stopping these flash floods. I know that you're not going to stop the weather, but we might be able to prevent some of it. Last night we had a good rain, and what damaged my house and several others in the property area last August, the berm that was put back up by a company, we don't even know who it was, they just came in and dozed it for us, was pretty much washed out last night. So we're real close to being back in the same thing. The bridges, I think it'd be nice to have a meter that tells you how many feet it is, so that we know how many cubic feet of water it was designed for the 100-year flood. So then we'd know that the residents could say, hey, look, it's up a foot. Maybe next time you get a chance to come out and maintain it. You gotta have some type of preventive maintenance on your roads and on your creeks, or else you're gonna have more flash flooding. You look at what just happened in Penn a couple weeks ago. From going through it, and I know people have been here since '72, I wasn't, and I'm sure that was devastating. But FEMA helped. The little people, they didn't help. And it's your funding that'll help buy the riprap, also allow people to do the retention ponds like you did for Southport, and I think it was the town of Elmira. It takes years to get to this point, but we'd like to see it move forward. I also would like to see you go out to your towns and ask them to start a stormwater committee so that we can get together as a group and ask the state for more funding instead of just the town of Veteran asking. Thank you.
My name is Vera Scroggins. I'm from Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. And I wanted to come here because I'm very concerned about our waste, our toxic waste from gas drilling and fracking, which is coming here into New York, besides also filling the landfills of Pennsylvania. I noticed that you have about 12 or 14 supervisors here. I don't know what you call them here, but we call them supervisors in our county. And we have only 3 for our Susquehanna County, and we have 45,000 people there. I'm also the director of a citizens group called Citizens for Clean Water, and we've been documenting what's been happening to our county since 2008 when they first came in. And I've been doing hundreds of videos and citizen gas tours to show to legislators and citizens and farmers what is happening to our communities. And one of the senators that you mentioned that we can't pronounce, the name came on one of my tours, and I told her about 2 years ago, please do not let any Pennsylvania waste, toxic waste from fracking and drilling come into New York or any other state. I feel it should stay in Pennsylvania. We produced it, we need to take care of it. It distresses me that we're palming it off on other states, and not only Pennsylvania, but New Jersey, Ohio. I remember warning New Jersey about 4 years ago when I asked the trucks, the frack trucks, that were filled with drill cuttings. I asked the driver, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to a landfill in central New Jersey. It was Edison, New Jersey, where my family, I have parents, cousins, and siblings that live near there. And I then took note and I called the Sierra Club of New Jersey, and I called a senator of New Jersey who was very interested in this situation and told them, look what's coming into your state. It's toxic, it's radioactive, it's high in heavy metals. I don't think you want to be further polluted. I was raised in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and I consider that a rather polluted city. And I consider New Jersey rather polluted. And I didn't think that New Jersey should take on more contamination. They've taken on enough over my lifetime. I'm 63 years old, so since that time, we've been calling New Jersey Cancer Row. And that was called when I was a child. And my mother passed away from lung cancer, and she never smoked, and my father never smoked. So I know that the radon is also a possible cause of lung cancer. Our Marcellus shale is high in radon, and we're exporting it now through the drill cuttings and through the frack waste and the liquid waste. On every site, we have anywhere from 1 to 12 wells. Every well has up to 1,000 or more tons of drill cuttings. Can you imagine the amount of waste per site? So if you have, let's say, 3 gas wells, which is an average in our county, you're having about 3,000 tons of drill cuttings that they have to get rid of. They have to dry them out to whatever degree they can, put them in these trucks, and you have hundreds of trucks coming in and out, delivering them to the landfills. We're right now also using landfills south of us, south of Scranton, Pennsylvania. In the northern part of Pennsylvania, as well as my county, Susquehanna County, we have no landfills. We're not keeping any of the waste in our landfills. We don't have any. So we're using other areas, including New York and other states. And I find that very unacceptable and distressing that we should use anybody else for our toxic waste. So I would encourage, I also want to let you know that we've had 900 wells so far drilled in our county. 7 different gas companies having to deal with this waste, which they claim is such a clean energy. The only thing clean about it is it possibly burns cleanly, but it's so dirty to extract and toxic. And not only is it 900 gas wells, DEP, our DEP has 905 violations just for our county. That's since 2008, 900 wells, so you compute the ratio there. 900 gas wells, 905 violations from 7 companies drilling throughout our county. Do you want these companies to deliver their toxic waste to your state and somehow endanger your water, like they've endangered our water already? We have 7 sections in our county. Families dealing with contaminated water, they have to have replacement water, they have to struggle with water on a daily basis. I see them, I know them, There's lawsuits throughout our county, besides, of course, throughout the whole state. And I just recently, one of the common types of DEP violations are spills. Drill cutting, drill mud spills, besides flowback. We just had our latest spill on a gas site near the county seat, which is Montrose. I was there, I filmed it, a neighbor called me and said, come and see what they're doing, how they're trying to get rid of this waste and spill. So I saw them out there with their backhoes, with their dump trucks, and they had to dig up all of the contaminated soil on that site around well number 3. There were 3 wells on that site. This is the mead site, which is on the mead farm. These are multi-generational farms, lots of acreage. So this site, they were cleaning it up, and I watched it, and I just filmed it. You can see it on my YouTube channel. And they were taking samples of soil, all kinds of special environmental group was there taking all kinds of samples of soil. So they had to test it. They were digging all this space around the wellhead. The guys were in there up to their waist, taking out samples, and then I was watching one dump truck after another taking out the toxic soil, which I've seen at other sites, has to be replaced with non-contaminated soil. Now this is just an ongoing thing. This is the new norm for our county. People just drive past this. This is our new norm now. This is what we see and what we have to learn about. I don't want to see this in New York. I don't want to see this for your county. And I am pleading with all of you to please consider not allowing expansion of a landfill that will just continue to possibly contaminate in your environment. Don't allow the expansion. Don't allow any of our waste to come into your state. Let us take care of it. Thank you.
Okay, people are moving around out there, so I'm not sure where we are. We're on the...
Good evening, my name is Frank Patterson, I live in the town of Annette, Chemung County. I speak tonight on behalf of People for Healthy Environment. I'm its president. If you recall, I came here in April and I gave you a letter. I identified how bad RA 226 is in the drill cuttings. I quantified how much drill cuttings we're getting, 154,000 tons in 3 years. I requested this body to give me an answer by May 30th, 45 days. What you're going to do to stop accepting drill cuttings into the landfill, remove the drill cuttings received, and prohibit future fracking waste from coming here. You didn't respond. You didn't answer the mail. You didn't do your job. I'm disappointed. Shame on you. Shame on you. Tonight I'm going to give you another letter. I'm going to add some more data to it. I'm not going to read the letter to you, but I'm going to tell you what it's about. I come across the United States Geological Survey report from 2011 that shows wells in Pennsylvania, 33 Marcellus wells. The fracking water, the produced water, had extremely high RA 226 levels, comparable to what I showed you or gave you in April for New York State wells. It also shows 6 other strata above the Marcellus that's also hot. It's not dirt, it's hot rock. It's pulverized rock. Not as hot as Marcellus, but it's hot. Way above the EPA standard for safe drinking. Way above. Now, today I'm going to give you a letter that says, hey, here's some new data. I want you guys to do your job. I want you to go to your charter, read it for a change, go to your charter, and pass some legislation, some local laws that stop this nonsense. Keep this stuff out of the landfill. Get rid of what you got, and prevent future crud from coming in here. That's the best I can do. Do your job. Stop the drill cuttings.
My name is Russell Honaker. I drove here from Cooperstown, Otsego County,
couple hours with my wife. I'm the 18th person to come up here, and every single person before me has given reasons for you to not allow any more waste to come here and to rectify your landfill by getting this radioactive waste out. You've had PhDs, you've had medical doctors. My background is my adult life I've spent as a photographer. And I'll tell you, coming from Nashville, Tennessee, they wanted to put radioactive waste in the dump, in the landfill in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and people stopped it. They wanted to build the world's largest nuclear plant on the source of our drinking water, and people stopped it. The elected officials had their plates full, and but people stopped that. And I'm just somebody who's pointed. I looked and I pointed. I got invited to New Mexico, and I saw industrial rock waste in one place, Shiprock, New Mexico, where it is a mountain. And you want to accept another 500,000, so $500,000 here and $500,000 there, and it adds up. They have a mountain of it. And even in the desert where they don't have much rain, they can't keep the water from going through it. It goes into the San Juan River. And everybody that you talk to has been affected by it. And the children are affected by it. So all I'm saying is, I'm not speaking from a medical background, but my sister, her first year of college, was diagnosed with an acute leukemia and given 3 months to live. She's the oldest living survivor of a process that started where I live now in Cooperstown, Tennessee, New York, the bone marrow transplant. She's the oldest living survivor. So there are people that live through terminal illnesses, but it affects everything. And if any of you had a brother or sister, a mother with a cancer, you would be weighing the money that's promised from this waste to that very real experience. And that's what you are being implored by every single person who's come up here. To say, weigh this. How many more cancers will it take for you to say, okay, I'll stand with every one of you who came here tonight? What would it take? Because on the one hand, you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, and have you taken a stand? Are you with these people, every single one? Are you like, well, yeah, more cancer, but we'll get money? The drain on your economy here is forevermore. With that leachate, everything, water is the biggest conveyor of pollution. More than the air, it's the water. And it cannot be stopped. When you see a berm of it in New Mexico, they cannot stop it, they cannot cap it. Water goes through it, and it contaminates what's underneath. And I've seen in Grants, New Mexico, where they have contaminated groundwater, they try to stop it. They inject water here to keep it from going over here, and it comes up somewhere else. And that's what you're facing. And before it is a mountain of waste here, you can take steps to get it out of here. Everywhere that radioactive waste is coming, people organize to try to stop it. And there's a reason for that, because it adversely affects you. And I just wanted to look into your faces. Is there one person here that's been moved by all this? To say, that scale of that misery is not outweighed by the money. You can act.
I would just like to say that my brother had brain cancer, my other brother had prostate cancer, my sister's a breast cancer survivor, my mother died of lung cancer, so I don't need to be lectured by anybody what the causes of cancer are. I know I lived it. Thank you.
Anybody from the front row on this side?
I feel like I should invite you all to have a 7th inning stretch. So feel free to take a little exercise. Oh, sorry. Do that 7th inning stretch. My name is Maureen Carroll. I reside with Scott Reeves at 983 Upland Drive in Elmira. I'm here tonight as a private citizen to ask the legislature to vote against the proposed expansion of the county landfill and to discontinue the practice of accepting drilling waste from hydrofracking. I know you have heard from chemists, geologists, health professionals, and other experts. So I'm going to address the issue of drilling waste from personal experience. Prior to moving to Elmira in 2011, Scott and I resided in Erin, near the top of Langdon Hill. Our dream home was built in 1995 on a 6-acre lot, approximately a half-mile downslope from the former 300-acre Girl Scout camp in the midst of a pristine wilderness with incredible views. Thus, we were deeply disappointed when the camp owners allowed a natural gas well to be drilled in 2005. Fortunately, from our viewpoint, the well was not productive and was declared temporarily abandoned and soon dismantled. So we were amazed a few months later to see a fully loaded brine tanker truck headed to the abandoned well site, only to return in a few minutes without its toxic load. We immediately reported the incident to the regional DEC office, and their investigator was informed by the truck driver that he was dumping at the abandoned well because the permitted site he was normally supposed to be using happened to be closed that weekend. So, we sold our beloved house on the hill. We thought it would be safer and wiser to move to a location with access to a municipal water supply. Now, our actions may seem overly cautious to some, but we did not want to gamble that our well might be polluted with a chemical cocktail at any time unbeknownst to us. We did not want to risk that all of our home's equity could be gone in a second due to someone's deliberate or accidental actions. Sadly, though, we now find that our move was not truly protected, since the Elmira Water Board, which supplies our water on Upland Drive, uses the Chemung River as one of its surface water sources, the very same river that is flowing through Loudoun and is far too close to the county landfill and the potential migration of all those toxins being hauled in from Pennsylvania. High volume, hydraulic fracturing, and the toxic waste it generates is the single most important issue you, as our elected representatives in Chemung County, will ever deal with during your tenure in office. I realize that you think you are being good public stewards by keeping our taxes low. However, if you approve the expansion proposal, in reality, you are sealing the fate of this county for many generations to come. No one will care if the taxes are low once the water is undrinkable, the air is unbreathable, and the land is untillable. Our experience with fracking waste should demonstrate to you that even with all the regulations in place, the appropriate agencies and personnel on duty, and the best procedures carefully delineated, a single individual can easily wreak havoc despite your rules, your regulations, and your safeguards. Yes, you have radioactive tracking of the trucks as they enter the landfill. But do you have a county agent there guaranteeing that each truck from a fracking site is meeting guidelines? Have you given any consideration to the cumulative effect of all those toxic truckloads once they are quadrupled in number? But most importantly, though, have you forgotten that when each of you was elected, you took an oath of office, swearing that you would support both the United States and New York State constitutions, and that those documents not only address the need to protect the public you represent, but in the case of New York's Constitution, Article 14, Section 4 specifically states that natural resources shall be conserved and protected, along with adequate provision for the abatement of water and air pollution, and the protection of agricultural lands, wetlands, shorelands, and the development and regulation of water resources. Indeed, Article 14 even stipulates that a violation of any of its provisions may be restrained at the suit of the people. That includes me and every single citizen in Chemung County. Thus, I implore you to reject the proposed massive expansion of the county's landfill, and I request that you would cease accepting any fracking waste of any sort into our county. I ask this on behalf of current county residents, but more importantly, I ask it in the name of future generations. It is within your power to protect their air, their water, their land, and indeed their very lives. You should not take that charge lightly or with regard for anything other than their safety, the safety of our county. For as the Cree people noted many years ago, when all the trees have been cut down, when all the animals have been hunted, when all the waters are polluted, when all the air is unsafe to breathe, only then will you discover that you cannot eat money. Thank you.
Dr. Earl Robinson, Chemung County, 1.5 mile from the landfill. I want to apologize, I missed the last meeting because I had to go to Albany. They asked me to talk at the public forum on health and environmental risks posed by transport and landfilling of drilling waste. This was the New York State Senate Environmental Committee. I'm a pulmonary critical care physician. I've been in Chemung County for 36 years. I'm going to talk not about what's going to happen, but what's been happening in Chemung County for the last 36 years since I've been here. Now, despite my greatest efforts, Chemung County has the highest death rate from lung cancer in New York State. Lung cancer is one of the worst cancers you can possibly have. The overall survival at 5 years for all types of lung cancer is 10%. If you have stage 1 lung cancer, which is the smallest, easiest treated, least liable to kill you type of cancer, stage 1, at 5 years, the overall prognosis is only 40%. Now, why does Chemung County have the highest death rate from lung cancer in New York State? Well, we do have one of the highest smoking rates, and some people look at it as between 25 and 32% of the population smoke. But we also have radon. And we have radon in ambient air. So in this room, and when you walk outside, you're going to be exposed to radon. Radon in ambient air in most places in New York State is 0.3 picocuries per liter. Now what's a picocurie? You hear a lot about that. A picocurie is 2 nuclear disintegrations per minute. Now if you're breathing right now, which I imagine you all are, you're moving 6 liters of air a minute. If you exercise, you could go up to 24 liters of air a minute. If you have radon in the air, that's how many picocuries per liter you're breathing in. So let's say it's 1 picocurie, 24 liters at 24 picocuries per minute, 60 minutes, 24 hours, 365 years, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now what happens with that? Radon 222 decays, producing alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. The 2 most dangerous decay products of radon gas are polonium-218 and polonium-214. That's the material they used to kill the Russian spy in London. the amount of polonium was less than what you put on your little finger that killed him. Now, if you're a smoker, and again, I mentioned we have a high degree of smokers in Chemung County, and you just breathe ambient air, you've got a 3 in 1,000 chance of developing lung cancer, just because you're breathing ambient air with radon in it. But at 2 picocuries per liter, 32 smokers per 1,000 get lung cancer in a lifetime. At 20 picocuries per liter, 1/4 of all these smokers will get lung cancer. 25% of smokers at 20 picocuries will get lung cancer. Now, Chemung County, I mentioned ambient air is 0.3 picocuries. In Chemung County, the average basement has 12.5 picocuries per liter of radon gas. In the first floor of most houses in Chemung County, there's 6 picocuries per liter of radon gas. Exposure to radon is the second most common cause of lung cancer in the United States. It's like 110,000 people die of lung cancer because of radon exposure. Now, what are we doing about that? So for the last 36 years, my partners and I, every week we see 1 or 2 people with lung cancer. We try to get them to stop smoking. I don't see anybody doing anything about radon abatement. Even the real estate people don't necessarily check for that. Back to the story of the radon. There are 4 isotopes of radon, of radium: 228, 226, 224, and 223. Now, this is Marcellus waste right here. It's not mud, it's not brown, it's black. It looks like coal. As long as that thing is inside of this plastic container, the alpha radiation will not go through there. Okay? The radon gas cannot escape. The gamma can go right through here and right through that wall. But if you take this and you spread it all over this room, and then we start walking around and blowing and knocking the dust up into the air, you're going to inhale it. If you inhale it, 60% of it's going to be absorbed and go into your body and probably be deposited in your bones. So, that's what I deal with every day. And I do not want to see an increase in the number of people that have lung cancer in this county. And bringing this stuff in by the hundreds of thousands of tons and spreading it is not going to make it any better. I was talking with a doctor out in Colorado who does radon research. And he said out there's a lot of radioactive material, and they do uranium mining. And you can actually take a meter, put it outside the car and drive around. When you get to 20 picocuries per liter of radon, there's probably a uranium mine there. He also mentioned to me that once you get the gas lines up and running, you don't have to wonder where the gas lines are, because you can take a Geiger counter and you can put it on the ground and follow the gas lines, because the pipes become contaminated with the material. So just to bring up the speed on picocuries, radon, lung cancer in Chemung County, and why we should be careful. And there's more things we can do to keep people from having lung cancer, because once you've got it, you're pretty much dead. And we don't need that. And I can't stop that. The way to stop this cancer is to stop the exposure, stop the cigarette smoking, get rid of the radon.
I told her she was okay, she's been writing.
Madam Chair, thank you. Legislators, thank you. Thank you for your patience. I see no nodding heads, no rolling eyes. Appreciate that very much, as we all do. My name's Dave Radin. I live at 501 South Main Street in Los Angeles Village. I'm on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I only say that because that, and I guess a buck today gets me a cup of coffee. You would say to yourself, good grief, I can't believe an appointed government official in this county would actually come and have a position on this in this venue. Yeah, I do. I've had a foot in both camps on the issue of natural gas exploration for a long time. And my stance has slowly evolved into one that has some serious doubts about the efficacy of this technology. I would say that it's probably not all as bad as those who say it's a dangerous thing, but it definitely isn't as safe as those who say there's nothing to worry about. And the reason I say that is that there is too much mounting and continued anecdotal evidence of bad stuff associated with this industry. Things are exploding. Pipes are breaking. Trucks are dumping stuff where they shouldn't be dumping stuff. Air that was nice and clean smells bad. Water that tasted fine tastes terrible. There's dust and crap in the air. And now, you folks are going to decide whether or not to bring truckloads of potentially dangerous garbage into our county. Why in the hell would you want to do that? Now, I'll tell you why. It's all about money. We wouldn't even be considering this if there wasn't a payoff for this. Now, on the one hand, I applaud the county executive, and I applaud all of you for protecting the financial viability of our county. These are unbelievably tough times. Little villages, big cities, places all over the world, or not the world, all over the country are going bankrupt. And Tom Santulli and you folks are doing a great job to do everything you can to keep us financially viable. And I ask you, how much money are we going to make out of this? How many new dump trucks is it going to buy us down the road? How many road graders? How many upgrades to buildings that we have serving the county? Versus, and this is what I worry about, 5, 10, 15, maybe 50 years from now, all of a sudden, in Loudon, or downstream, in Wellsburg, in Athens, in Sayre, in Harrisburg, in the Chesapeake Bay, little kids have weird things on their skin, and cancer rates are climbing, and babies are born with all kinds of strange deformities. And people start checking. And sometime during 2014, a bunch of people on the 5th floor of the Hazlitt building voted to do something that can be linked back to that. This is not a legacy I want to be associated with. And if you vote yes, I can guarantee you that when you all leave this hall that night, you're going to walk out either saying it to your trusted comrade or yourself, good God, don't let us screw this up. And I don't want you to have to say that. Thank you.
My name is Gail Lyons, and I live in Elmira. Before I came here tonight, I looked up, first of all, ditto to what everybody else has said. I looked up the lifespan of the membrane that goes into the landfill. I was shocked to find it was only 200 years. 200 years, that's all. I didn't even bother to look up what the lifespan of the glue is, and I'll bet you it's nothing close to that. In 1787, my 14 times great-grandparents came to this area. And here I stand, 227 years later. In 227 years, are my future generations going to be standing here? It's scaring me. Because because this stuff is so toxic. When your ancestors research you, are they going to discover that you were the heroes or the perpetrators? That's all I have to say.
Ladies and gentlemen of the legislature, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Allie Murphy, given name Alice Murphy. I live at 988 Pauline Avenue in Pine City, New York. I have lived in Chemung County since 1988, when I met my husband-to-be and decided to come to this area to be with him. I'm not going to spend time giving you statistics about cancer or about fracking. I'm just here totally unprepared tonight, not wanting to speak at all, but feeling like I must speak from my heart. But when I came here in 1988, my husband put me on the back of his motorcycle and drove me through the hills to show me the beautiful vista of this area and to kind of, sucker me into moving here. So, and that's how it worked out. It was gorgeous here, and I just was enthralled by the terrain and this beautiful environment here. And I really couldn't understand, coming in from the outside, that it seemed as though people they had a poor self-esteem. They didn't see the area as being as gorgeous as I did. They didn't take advantage of all the opportunities in the area that were out there. That, I could look in the paper and I could go to these events, these arts events and nature events and everything that this area offers. There was just kind of a defeated attitude that I think was left over from the 1972 flood, which, I just saw on television. And I just implore you to have a high self-esteem for this area and to vote against increasing tonnage at our local landfill and to vote against storing any fracking fluid from our own. We have a moratorium on fracking. Why are we taking in fracking waste from Pennsylvania? It just doesn't even make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. And, I'm the kind of person who is not a protester. I don't want to carry picket signs. I've never done it before tonight. I'm very happy to just go to my polls and vote people into office who are going to make these tough decisions for me. But when I see that these decisions could be made improperly, I have to step forward. Now is my time to step forward, and I'm stepping forward, and I'm just saying no. When I envision this area, I see the tourist attraction that it can be. When we go away on vacation every year, and we go to these beautiful places, and then I come back, I'm just wowed by this gorgeous area. Every time I come in from another place that I've idealized, I come back and I say, wow, this place is just stunning. Let's not do anything to destroy it. Thank you very much for allowing us.
My name is Elizabeth Whitehouse, and I'm from Corning, so I'm not directly affected by any of this going on here. But I am deeply concerned about
landfills and waste in general. No paper. Susan B. Anthony said, "I distrust those people who know so well what God wants them to do, because I notice it always coincides with their own desires." The same could be said of corporations. Expanding the landfill may bring Chemung County increased revenue, but I will bet my bottom dollar that it will benefit Casella a whole lot more. Their desire to expand the landfill is motivated entirely by profit. I hope that this legislature is not blinded by dollar signs, but takes the time to look at the long-term effect of continuing to operate existing landfills, let alone increase their size and capacity. The Public Works Commissioner of Steuben County said at a meeting that he would happily close the landfill if there was an alternative. There are alternatives. Composting organic matter, increased recycling, reusing construction material, reducing the waste stream, and ceasing to produce waste like drill cuttings and frack water, which are too polluted to be usable. New York is at a crossroads. We stand at a fork in the road to the future. To the right, we can carry on extracting fossil fuels by increasingly dirty methods and then burning them, releasing unacceptable amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere and putting our very existence at risk. To the left, the road leads towards clean, renewable energy. There is a clearly thought out roadmap to make New York totally free of fossil fuels by 2050. Energy efficiency and reduced consumption of everything, not just energy, are part of that plan. Essential for the success of this plan, and without exaggeration, the continuation of civilization as we know it, is a move away from being a throwaway society. That will not happen as long as there is ample landfill space. I urge you, I beg you, not to expand the capacity of the Chemung County landfill.
Hi, one of my major concerns.
Your name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Kim Michaels, and I'm from Afton, New York, in Chemung County. And I'm here today because I believe this affects all the people in all the counties of New York, as well as the United States, and this is actually a global issue. Under the guise of helping the people and the environment, we're told about clean, green, renewable energies. Included in that is they actually consider natural gas has been called a clean energy. So is nuclear. According to Obama, this Department of the Interior document describing how Obama is opening up millions of acres of public lands, in the past always protected, for these alternative energies. What is very frightening is that all of these alternatives, we actually have an existing energy supply. We're jumping into this, and if we actually looked at the science, you'll see that these alternative energies all rely on the shale, such as ours. The Marcellus shale, in particular, is unusually high in radioactivity. There was a study done back in, it was in 1993, I believe, in which New York's Marcellus shale was compared to other shales, including the two that came closest. This is in the United States and Europe. Two that came closest in radioactivity compared to New York's Marcellus were in Texas, was over 5,000 picocuries. In the Ukraine, in the Dnieper Basin, which is actually what's, I believe, being a region that's being a problem between Russia and Ukraine right now. We should take a look at how this drilling will impact us, in part, not only due to the radiation issue. Like I said, ours is unusually high in radiation. It also comes combined with rare earths, which supply many of our renewables, such as solar, wind, electric, and hybrid vehicles. It's not clean, it's not renewable, and it's not safe. as far as, from a financial standpoint, we should all take a look at why are we in such economic distress at this point. There was a DOT document that was leaked in 2011 which described how preparation of roads and road impacts, getting the roads up to snuff, for the gas drilling, bridges, and whatnot, would go into like hundreds of millions of dollars, and this was per year, and how that would impact municipalities, and that this would actually detract from many public programs. That's already happening. You can see this in many things as far as mental health, things being cut back, jails. The list goes on and on, but the people are suffering in order to support the gas drilling. We're getting taxed to death while they're getting the tax breaks. And they talk about energy independence. Well, our resources are being bought up by foreign companies. Our resources, our grid, Iberdrola is that's a Spanish company. I mean, we're actually losing control over our resources. We could become dependent on foreign countries for our own resources. Foreign countries mining our resources and exploiting our people. This is just an absolute disgrace. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be exploiting anyone else either, but for God's sake, what are we doing here? As far as the DEC protecting us, Thomas S. West, oil and gas, he's been a representative for the oil and gas companies, for the polluters. He was one of the primary authors of the original SGICE. They're making, the oil and gas industry is making up their own regulations. This is just insane. Back in 1993, there was a whistleblower, I forget what his name is now, it's been so long since I read about him, but, I just hope that all of you, be careful whose advice you're taking on what is safe and what isn't safe. Look up your own information. Take a look at industry, like business like their 10K filings, 10Q filings. Look at all the where it shows the environmental risks and their liability risks. Another thing that's becoming an issue here is creating public-private partnerships as far as pipelines go. As far as I know, that has not yet passed through, but that's pretty frightening. They want to pass off the cost of creating these pipelines and whatnot onto the people, while the gas industry gets the use of them. In addition to the cost of creating them, we'd also be saddled with the liabilities. With this landfill, like I said before, this gentleman was talking about like 2 picocuries, 4 picocuries, 12 picocuries. I'm talking in New York's Marcellus shale, 10,000 picocuries. And this stuff can travel for miles. It builds up in pipes. An OSHA document from Louisiana showed stated that every oil and gas site in their state was likely to be contaminated with radiation. Pipelines build up scale. So even the used pipes, even when they go to replace them, those old pipes, what do you do with them? This is all something you really need to take into consideration. And like I said, do your own research. Don't count on people that are claiming to be more knowledgeable than yourself, or this scientist or that. I heard one scientist at a coalition meeting one day talking about how drill cuttings could be used, they're just like dirt and rock. It's just dirt and rock, nothing to be concerned about. It can be used for fertilizer. And meanwhile, when you're in conventional oil and gas wells, you're drilling straight down, and then you're hitting like the the important stuff. With horizontal drilling, you're drilling down, the Marcellus shale is known for its high gamma signal. That's how they detect it, that's how they know it's there, that's how they know it's valuable. So you're drilling down, now you're drilling out all these horizontal cuttings, bringing all those up. That's all highly radioactive. Another example of where you might want to be concerned, in Texas, they were the ones with the second highest radiation levels compared to us. In Texas, they were, this was just happened a few years back, it was reported in the newspaper, I believe the title of the article was Texas Slowballs Radiation Scores. For 20 years, the TCEQ in Texas was fudging their radiation scores in the water. So I mean, just take a closer look and remember that this is going to affect people for generations, and that's no exaggeration. We have high levels of uranium, thorium, rare earth metals. Uranium and thorium have, there's more than just radon. There's radium. They have over 100 radioactive daughters. So I mean, it's not just one or two things you have to be concerned about.
Can you wrap it up? You have your 2 months, Dan.
That's about all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Betty. I live on Prospect Hill Road in Horseheads. I have no intention of speaking tonight. I have no notes, and I'll tell you why I did. It's emotion. Maybe speak. And being outside the doors, seeing strange faces that I've never seen before. I've come from quite a distance. And to see the signs in the rally, I thought, damn, this is what democracy is about. And then I came into the room, I was in a real good mood. I came into the room and my dear friend Ruth gave me a dose of what reality really is. Thanks a lot, Ruth. And my mood plummeted. Sorry about that. I love you. She pointed out reality, what it's been in this county for quite some time. And I realized democracy may not happen here. And as I've been sitting there listening, I looked at that flag a few times. And I thought about my friends and relatives who fought in Vietnam. When they came back, they weren't treated very well. And I'm so happy to see the way we're respecting and treating our veterans now coming back. And how we honor them when we thank them for defending what we call our way of life. Okay? And I was thinking how insulting it is to them when in one small town, one county, one state, the people speak in an overwhelming way. Hundreds of letters I've sat in there and read, hours and hours of listening here. If the people speak in that volume and that loudly, I have not heard one voice say, dump, baby, dump. I have not heard one. And if democracy doesn't happen here, if people don't, if you folks, and I'm praying you will, do not listen to all the people who wrote and speak, then maybe that flag shouldn't live here. Thank you.
Barbara Cleveland. I live in Longman, too close to the dump. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, or maybe not. I want to share an experience with you. And in February, my parents moved from their home of nearly 60 years. The garage had years of accumulation of items considered hazardous waste. Had to be removed since the house was up for sale, but what was I to do with it? I did talk to Brian about this. Do you, the legislators of Chemung County, know what my disposal options were for these items in February? My only options were to dispose of them improperly or move them and store them somewhere else until May. We have 2 days a year when we can get rid of hazardous waste in Chemung County. As a health professional and cancer patient, I'm likely more cognizant than many of the dangers of improper disposal of such items So I did store them until our hazardous waste collection day. However, I'm not sure the county could have made the process of registering and attending the event more challenging. Or maybe they could. I called to register and was told I had to wait until a certain date to register, and they weren't supposed to tell me where this was going to take place until I registered. It was a secret. So I called after the designated date, and realizing that I'd be out of town on this special event day, I had to ask my son to deliver the items. He works on Saturdays, but I thought he could get there sometime during the designated hours because it was several hours listed in the paper. After spending 10 minutes at least on the phone registering, giving my name and address, and of course my son's name because he was delivering, and trying to give him the quantity and type of materials being disposed of, keep in mind this is several years of stuff, and I had 2 big blue tubs full of cans of different types of things, and she wanted me to explain exactly what I had, and of course if you dealt with paint and other, and this was not latex paint, because you don't dispose of latex paint, it hazardous waste day, these others, but they get on the label, so you really don't know all the time what you have in that can. But anyway, I did my best to explain to her what I was bringing and other things that I had accumulated in my house. And she needed to know what they'd be transported in, what kind of boxes, what size, whatever. And I was reminded several times that this hazardous waste team is very particular about things. So, you gotta do everything just right, even though she couldn't quite tell me exactly what just right was. So in the end, keep in mind my son's working on Saturdays and there's several hours to this event, she then tells me he has to be there at 12:50. So I tell him, and he says he's going to do his best to make it there at that time. And I had to also warn him to be sure all the items, we have a 4Runner, they had to be in that kind of vehicle so that the guys they had to be in a trunk or a truck, something the guys could get and open, and don't let your son get out of the car. Tell him, don't get out of the car. They really can't have him out of the car. So I was a little concerned I was going to get a call that my, law-abiding son was in jail or something, needed bail money, the way she talked. So he did work that Saturday. He did get to the event. He texted me. He was a little late getting there. He went to the wrong gate or something. It was at the fairgrounds, by the way. That was the secret place. And I did find out finally after I registered. But anyway, I was glad to see they were a little forgiving and did take the stuff, regardless of him being a little late getting there. Now, what I ask of you is, do you think the average Chemung County citizen is going to jump through these hoops and store all their hazardous waste until one of these 2 days a year? Probably not. And I've said it in the past and I'll say it again, keep it simple. Other counties and states have at least a battery disposal bin right next to the recycling bins at their landfills or transfer stations. And why not Chemung County? When people see these, it raises awareness of the proper disposal of such items. So, bringing it back around to the issue of the night in conclusion, let me make it clear, I do not support expansion of the Chemung County landfill now or ever. It's only going to lead to increased dangers as hazardous waste continues to be dumped there intentionally or out of ignorance.
Esteemed legislators and fellow citizens, thank you for taking the time and attention. My name is Karen Bizantz, and I'm a property owner in Chemung County, although I live in Corning. I have a daughter who lives here, in Elmira. I know you're sincere in wanting to help the county reach financial stability, but as has been said more or less, there's no safe amount of radiation. it accumulates in our bodies and it causes some of the problems you've talked about. So this leads us to a possible worst-case scenario. Imagine that Chemung County residents learn of the radiation exposure and then they abandon Chemung County. As one of the people here in the May meeting said she would leave the county if there was any more radiation brought in. There will be an exodus of businesses. Parents won't send their children to schools or college here, knowing full well the effects of radiation on health. The medical staff will want to leave. Even savvy legislators who want to leave. It will become a ghost county, albeit one with a thriving landfill. Any profit made will be going to lawsuits and Medicaid costs. Unemployment due to illness will increase. True, some of that will take time, as has been mentioned, because this type of poisoning takes time to wreak havoc. And I'm sure you wouldn't want that to be on your conscience. And I'll cut out part of what I was going to say because things have been said already. Why does Pennsylvania not want to dispose of its? Why doesn't it keep its fracking waste if it's safe? And part of the reason is they have more restrictive rules, regulations than we do. And also, Casella maintains that its monitors have not detected radiation here. So we'd like to know more about, how they are doing that, what methods and tools are they using. And it's true, some monitors cannot pick up radium. Also, keep in mind that Casella has not proven itself to be a good neighbor in places where it does business. And so it seems very untrustworthy. It has an alarming record of environmental violations. Just Google Casella violations to see it for yourself. It's a company that seems to prefer to pay fines than to obey the law. The radiation in the water-soluble radiation was discussed already. So even more basic might be to consider that the landfill's location violates several Environmental Protection Agency rules by being 1, located in a gravel pit, 2, in a valley, 3, over an aquifer, and also 4, on or near a floodplain. So I don't know how it originated in the first place. So we shouldn't really be dumping anything there. It would be wiser to remove the frack waste, as someone said, that's already here, than to think of expanding the dump. In conclusion, people interested in safety do not want the scourge of radiation in their backyard. Everyone is anxious to get rid of it. It sits in stockpiles all over the world with no safe place to go. It is an environmental hot potato. Inviting more of it into the county would be short-sighted and foolhardy. So please use your common sense in your role as guardian of the people to protect them against this potential tragedy. Thank you very much.
My name is Catherine Dawson. I live in Shenango County, Guilford, and I want to thank all of you for sitting here for this very, very long time and listening, and I want to thank everyone who has given such eloquent descriptions of the chemistry of fracking waste. I'm very happy that the county I live in, Shenango County, has a zero tolerance for radioactive waste.
Yes.
This is truly serendipity. This came about when an effort was made to site a low-level radioactive dump there some 2 decades ago. I'm not sure of the date. I must have been battling poverty at the time and not buying newspapers. But it didn't kill me, okay? Not to know. I mean, and being poor did not kill me. Actually, it was a great learning experience. The Chemung County police officer who checked our bags when we came in asked me why so many people from outside the county were coming to this meeting. For me, there are many reasons. The first could be the economic burden that would fall upon me and my tax-paying children when Chemung County residents fall ill from the radioactive elements in the county's drinking water and air and are unable to work and are forced to apply for Medicaid if they are not already on it, causing our taxes to rise in New York State. Another reason I oppose the expansion of Chemung County's landfill to accept radioactive waste is because no amount of money can mitigate the sure dangers radioactive waste presents to the immediate community and ultimately to all living things downstream in the Chesapeake Bay, into which flow the waters of the Susquehanna and its tributary Chemung River. I can't help it that the Susquehanna is going through Pennsylvania too. I'm just here to address you guys here. Thinking about radon, Marie Curie comes to mind. I think she identified it or discovered it, radium, and she died from it. My early memories at the age of 4 in Leadville, Colorado, is standing at something like this in the shoe store and putting my feet underneath, and I could look down and see the bones of my feet, and that way the mother could see if the shoe was too small. Maybe someone here is old enough to remember having done that. But then it was determined that that was dangerous because those are x-rays. Is that radium? Something like that? I lived in New Mexico, and my neighbor, I lived out in the country in Bernalillo. My neighbor fortunately had conceived father to child prior to working at Los Alamos, where exposure to radioactive elements rendered him sterile. Other memories of radioactivity hold on 1 second, please. I wrote this quickly. It was the irony. Well, I live in a 120-year-old house with a late stone foundation, and when I fell very poor, and then I would come across these materials, test your cellar for radon. I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do if I find it? I don't have any money. But there was all this literature available, and then when I learned about fracking, I realized, well, it's the same thing. Like, they just are going to bring it to us. We don't even have to live in a house with an exposed basement with a laid stone foundation and a dirt floor. In my house, though, it's really good because it's a sieve. So I would assume that stuff goes out, right? In those old houses, I hope so. I do have these are just things that cross my mind. I have a doctorate in U.S. history, and it's focused on labor history, on Gallup, New Mexico, in the early 1900s, and the wars that labor fought for their rights. And when I retired from New York City teaching in 2009, and 6 months later I learned about fracking, and I thought, what a waste. All those years spent on race, class, and gender, this fracking stuff is going to kill everybody. One would not be able to avoid it. So I really would hope that you do not expand the landfill. There's just so many young people that are getting into farming in a new way. So many people with their microbreweries and their new methods of making cheese, and this, it's just amazing. It's a groundswell of interest. This is a revolution going on now that we may not be aware of at this point in upstate New York in all parts, but it's happening. So you don't need necessarily to turn to this method of, making money, but bring people here. This is the haven. My son at 12 said, "Mom, this isn't a bad place. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have this. We don't have that." Well, we have had floods in past years. But pretty much, this is a pretty safe place to live up in the southern tier in terms of weather conditions. We have had terrible floods due to climate change at all. But other than that, it's a wonderful, wonderful place to live. Thank you very much for your time.
My name is Gary McCaslin. I'm a retired pastor from Corning, New York. I wasn't going to say anything tonight either, but I was so moved by the gentleman who drove down from Cooperstown, who spoke about the power of water and a mountain of waste in New Mexico. And I think that his short talk refocused what this entire discussion is about, and that's water. We're focusing on the waste, we're focusing on Casella and their desire to expand. But in the end, what we're talking about is water and its power to not only nourish, but also to infect. There was an article, editorial in the Corning Leader last week, written by a man, Roland Kidder, I think was his name, talked about the benefits of hydraulic fracturing. I read the article. Not one mention of water. When you see those ads on TV with the tall, attractive, articulate blonde telling you about how clean energy we have with natural gas, we don't hear anything about the water that comes out of the ground and how infected it is. So I wrote a letter in response to Mr. Kidder, and I'll just read you one paragraph from that letter. The sad truth is that there is no gas company spokesperson who can propose a safe way to handle the toxic water. Chemung County legislators have been told by gas company representatives drilling in Pennsylvania that water and sludge that comes out of the ground after fracking can be mixed with sand, dirt, and wood chips and renamed cuttings. So it can be dumped in the Chemung County landfill. It is hard to imagine that any independent scientist who knows geology and water tables would think that that was a good idea. We are water beings. We live on a water planet. The planet is about 70% water. Our bodies are about 70% water. Fetuses grow in an amniotic sac where the salinity is the same as ocean water. We are water beings on a water planet. And I think that when we remember the power of water and its ability to not only nourish us, as I said, but to infect, we have to respect that. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Freda Lynn Black. I live at 616 Mallory Road in the town of Chemung. I did speak 2 months ago, and I don't need to reiterate my objection on grounds as a taxpayer of enlarging and accepting outside waste. Actually, it was a good lead-in. I'm not here to lecture. I'm here respectfully to talk to all of you because I respect democracy and I respect your work as legislators and how difficult it is. And I have worked with state legislators in this state and others. I want to talk about making decisions, because all decisions are made by people after making an analysis of costs versus benefits, something someone did mention as I was writing this. I, like most people involved in civic issues, am a person of strong opinions, and I'm sure my opinions differ from those of many people here and agree with others. But I want to share with you something that I learned when I was studying for the clergy and I was studying chaplaincy. Even if I disagree 180 degrees from someone else, and this is true of some of my best friends, it does not follow that our values are at odds. I truly believe that it's a rare person who does not wish for most of the same things everyone else wishes for. We all want to be part of a family. We want to see our loved ones happy and healthy. We want to be secure in our homes and in our persons. So I've been thinking a lot lately about how people could be so adamantly opposed to one another's beliefs, when deep down inside, we all really want the same things. First, there's a question of where our information comes from when we're making our opinions, how accurate that information is, and do we really understand all the information? Do we comprehend the science behind it? Can we negotiate the complexities of the issues? And this is really precisely one of those issues. I'm sure all of us have been amazed, and astounded, and dismayed at times by all the science that's coming at us from all directions. I didn't learn that much in high school about radioactivity and alpha and gamma. My son knows more. He's in college now. I was in college a million years ago. So remember what I said in the beginning about cost-benefit analysis. How we weigh costs against the benefits we might get from something. How we do that weighing is usually pushed by which side of the equation concerns us more. So, second, the benefits. Are we concerned about how those benefits affect us personally? The economic side of the equation, and how pushed we are by that economic side, whether it's personally, by poverty, or by our position in public service, worrying about an entire community. So we live in a capitalist economic system. It has proven an effective system for creating wealth for those who have capital to invest, for the country in general. But it's not always proven to be a system that leads to equal protection for all people who live in the country and in that system. So what I've been thinking about lately too is democracy. I listen a lot to the radio. I don't have TV up in the hills where I am. I was born in a democracy, and I've taken it for granted for more than half a century. I've never been a flag waver. I'm a very kind of universalist type. But I've been watching the unrest in the world lately. The civil war in Syria, the annexation of its neighbor, Croatia, by Russia, a country that my grandparents fled. So my appreciation of the rights granted to me, to all of us by our founders, have really been growing lately. I want to quote from Sandra Steingraber, a wonderful person we know, a neighbor of ours. And she quotes from the right to know, which I recognize from our founding fathers gave us that right in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. From the right to know and the duty to inquire flows the obligation to act. And that obligation is not only upon you as our elected representatives, but upon us as citizens. We've been delving into the facts and trying to share them with you and our concerns. So I'm going to go back to, I can't resist this, I hope nobody will object to a little quoting of the Bible. In Genesis, after Cain has slain his brother Abel and hidden him, God calls out and says, Abel, where's your brother? And Abel, in fear, comes back in anger and says, am I my brother's keeper? I mean, after all, I don't know where he is. I say yes, we're all our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. It's incumbent upon us as members of the community in this county and you as county legislators to first consider the health and welfare and well-being of us in Chemung County. But as citizens of a democracy and of a larger world, I say we really have to be concerned not only for our own health and our own financial well-being, but of the health and well-being of everyone else, because a democracy and a world cannot function if we don't care about each other.
Your 3 minutes began your 5.
I'm sorry. So, all I want to do in conclusion is to ask you, to plead with you, to take a moral stance on the issue, and to realize when you're making that cost-benefit analysis that it's not an either-or choice. It's not take it and be financially solvent and sacrifice health, or don't take it so that we'll be healthy but we'll be poor. People have mentioned lots and lots of other solutions to our financial narrative, many growing movements and possibilities in our land in Chemung County, and I simply ask you to be your brother and sister's keepers. Make choices for the well-being and health of all of us and all the future generations I hope will come in Chemung. Thank you.
Anybody else wishes to speak?
This time you won't have to worry. Peter Ladley. I have been a resident of Chemung County for 26 years. The case has been amply made for the moral imperative and the moral reasons to make the kind of decision that needs to be made. In my way of seeing it, it basically comes down to close the landfill, punto. At the same time, what is being revealed in hearing after hearing, and I started with these hearings back in 2010 and then spoke before the legislature on January 30th. Alongside the moral imperative is a crisis of imagination. And so I'd like to end the evening with the words of an 80-year-old farmer, grandfather, poet, and writer, a mentor of mine, Wendell Berry, and I'd like to share a vision. And this might be a chance for you to really deliberately close your eyes lightly and just let it sink in. And then ask yourselves, what kind of possible future do we want to imagine together? And this is the way it goes. He writes, if we will have the wisdom to survive, to stand like slow-growing trees on a ruined place, renewing, enriching it, if we will make our seasons welcome here, asking not too much of earth or heaven, then a long time after we are dead, the lives our lives prepare will live here, their houses strongly placed upon the valley sides, fields and gardens, rich in the windows. The river will run clear, as we will never know it, and over it, bird song like a canopy. On the levels of the hills will be green meadows, stock bells in noonshade. On the steeps, where greed and ignorance cut down the old forest, an old forest will stand, its rich leaf fall drifting on its roots. The veins of forgotten springs will have opened. Families will be singing in the fields in their voices. They will hear a music rising out of the ground. They will take nothing from the ground. They will not return. Whatever the grief at parting, memory, native to this valley, will spread over it like a grove. And memory will grow into legend, legend into song, song into sacrament. The abundance of this place, the songs of its people and its birds, will be health and wisdom and indwelling light. This is no paradisal dream. Its hardship is its possibility. Thank you, Wendell Berry, and thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Thank you very much, and I will declare the public section closed.